You clicked for an FBI and DEA campus raid, 3 kilograms of pink cocaine and a $28.7 million claim. You're in the right place. But here's the twist. That campus headline is just a doorway. Stay with me because we're going to map how real Mexican transnational criminal organizations move cocaine, heroin, meth, and fentanyl from the southwest border through hubs like Phoenix, Los Angeles, Denver, and Chicago, then down to retail. We'll show where a campus incident might fit in that machine, and why the real fight is against leadership, money flows, and corridors, not a single bust. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A campus bust sounds like the final act. So why do DEA maps point to Phoenix, Los Angeles, Denver, and Chicago instead of a university quad? Here's what's floating around. A raid tied to a university, claims of 3 kilograms of so-called pink cocaine, and a $28.7 million figure bouncing through forums. Treat those as allegations for now. No official documents back that number, and we don't have lab confirmation on the substance. The headline moves fast online, but the verified trail is thin. And that gap matters when you try to gauge scale, leadership, or reach. Now look at the broader map. Federal threat assessments describe a national market driven by Mexican transnational criminal organizations. They control major supply lines into the United States, push bulk quantities across the southwest border, and feed regional hubs that serve entire metro areas. The story most people share is the bust. The real story is the engine pushing drugs into cities and suburbs long before a local arrest happens. Sinaloa and CJNG sit at the center of that engine. Their operators stage loads in Mexico, then move them through ports of entry in passenger vehicles with hidden compartments or on tractor trailers blended with legitimate freight. Some shipments cross in liquid form, then get reconstituted. Once a load clears the line, it doesn't flow straight to a dorm room or a small stash. It splits. Coordinators break it down into smaller units and dispatch it to stash locations across Phoenix, Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, and other corridors that feed the Midwest and East. Those corridor cities are not random dots. They sit on interstate grids, freight spines, and distribution networks. Law enforcement seizures cluster along those routes because that's where volume concentrates. You see activity near ports of entry, highway junctions, rail yards, and warehouses with fast in and out access. A meaningful seizure near a corridor can disrupt multiple downstream markets. A small-town incident tends to be a sign of product already fractured into retail units. The work happens through compartmentalized cells. One crew handles procurement and oversees movement to the border. Another runs transport past the ports of entry, using drivers who know only the pickup and drop points. A separate set of hands secures stash houses in ordinary neighborhoods, rotating locations to avoid patterns. Mid-level distributors convert bulk into saleable portions and feed local sellers who never meet the upstream bosses. Money runs on its own track. Cash collection, aggregation, and movement back to coordinators, sometimes through trade-based schemes or other channels that scrub origin. Many cells are run by nationals or US-based associates who blend into normal jobs, church groups, or local businesses, which lowers risk and helps them live near points of sale without drawing attention. So when a local incident hits the feed, it usually reflects a retail or mid-tier node, not a command center. That aligns with the layered model in official assessments. Leaders act through buffers. The buffers use single-purpose couriers. The couriers touch product for minutes, not weeks. You can hit a stash, seize phones, and grab cash, but the architecture remains intact because the next cell in line already holds stock or can reroute within days. I get the expectation. You clicked to see a dramatic take on a raid. The deeper truth is the grid that makes any local stash possible. A campus case, if it happened, would most likely be a spoke on a wheel dominated by Sinaloa or CJNG logistics, backed by transport specialists, stash managers, and cash handlers who keep the flow steady even when one node goes dark. Now that the wheel is visible, we'll zoom in on 2 questions you asked. What is pink cocaine? And why do 3 kilograms matter? Pink cocaine sounds exotic. So what is it really? And how much weight do 3 kilograms carry in the real market? Start with the label. Pink cocaine is a street name, not a chemical formula. In some scenes, it refers to 2-CB, a synthetic psychedelic that can be pressed into colorful tablets or powders. In other places, it's simply cocaine tinted with dyes or flavorings for branding. The look does the selling. Dealers lean on color and a catchy name to move product at a premium, but the color doesn't tell you what's inside or how it hits. The same bag can vary by city, by batch, and by who cut it last. That's why lab confirmation matters. Without it, no one can say what compound is present, what the dose is, or how it fits under drug schedules. Street names blur critical facts like potency and risk, and they can also blur legal exposure. A user thinks they bought a lightly stimulating party drug. A lab might later show a psychedelic, a stimulant, or a mix of both. For investigators, that uncertainty stalls charging decisions and clouds the intel on where the supply came from. If we're talking about 2CB, it sits on a different track from cocaine in terms of effects, dosing, and market behavior. Typical 2CB doses are measured in milligrams, not lines or grams. That makes retail packaging smaller and pricing deceptive. Tiny amounts can sell for high per-gram equivalents. Cocaine, on the other hand, moves in grams and ounces at street level, and its pricing follows a separate curve. Misbranding adds another twist. Call something pink cocaine, imply it's exclusive, and you can push margins higher while hiding the composition. That complicates enforcement because one seizure might require different lab protocols, different statutes, and different expert testimony than the name suggests. Now the 3-kilogram point. Multi-kilo cocaine seizures usually signal a mid-tier distributor rather than a command node. It's enough volume to feed multiple neighborhoods or nightlife circuits and to suggest access upstream, yet still small enough to insulate leadership. At that stage, the role looks like conversion and allocation, not high-level strategy. The person holding it often knows only the last handoff and the next drop. Here's how that volume translates. Wholesale cocaine commonly arrives at purities that vary by source and route. Retail sellers cut it to stretch inventory, using agents that bump weight while dulling potency. 1 kilogram at wholesale can yield far more than 1,000 retail half-gram units once it's diluted and repackaged. 3 kilograms multiplied by typical cutting practices becomes thousands of sales events. Which is why local officers treat a multi-kilo stash as a serious feed for a city segment rather than a random score. Upstream, transnational criminal organizations keep leaders distant from that physical product. They use dead drops so couriers never meet managers, rotate burner phones on fast cycles, and assign single-purpose drivers who only run one link of the chain. That distance leaves fewer clean lines for investigators to follow. You can seize drugs, phones, and ledgers, and still hit a wall because the next layer runs on a separate device tree and a new set of hands. Now the money claim. A figure like $28.7 million points to sustained turnover across months or years, not a one-off event. The proceeds move in bulk cash shipments that hop between stash points, into trade-based schemes that mingle dirty funds with invoices and goods, and sometimes through virtual currencies that shift value across borders quickly. Those channels make the cash harder to seize and the paper trail harder to prove in court. So yes, 3 kilograms is a big local find, but it's a symptom of a supply chain flowing from wholesale actors upstream and into launderers downstream. With the product and the scale decoded, the next layer is where enforcement aims to break the loop. Leadership nodes, corridor choke points, and the financial engines that keep the system funded and resilient. The headline grabs clicks, but the real fight sits upstream. Leaders who task logistics, corridors that funnel volume, and financial networks that recycle cash into the next load. If you want facts, pull them from verified sources. The DEA and the Department of Justice post press releases with arrests, seizures, and case updates that show where pressure lands.